Welcome back to the Retail Initiative Podcast, Season 4. And I cannot tell you how excited I am for all the things that we have ahead. We've already recorded a ton of interviews with some of my favorite people in the retail industry, some retailers, some service providers that are brilliant and incredible. I've missed you. I've missed you a lot. To be frank with you, over the last year, capital commerce, we kind of blew up and got way busier, and we doubled down on our marketing efforts. We doubled down on our work and the way that we were making an impact in the retail community. And what that meant for me was, unfortunately, the podcast had to take a backseat, and we had to focus on some other needle moving things. But I'm back. I'm all in. So welcome to Season 4. Look, 2024, what I want to do today is I want to take a look back at 2024, and I want to talk through some of the lessons that I learned and some of the best paths forward going into 2025. Now, this season, we have some really cool stuff planned. It's going to be some solo episodes with some tips and strategies around growing, and then digging in with some retailers around their story and what's working for them and their business. So that way, you can, as you're listening to this, learn a ton of things that's going to help move the needle in your business. So let's talk about 2024. When I talk to most retailers, they have interesting opinions about the year. And I think the general sentiment is that it was challenging. It was a difficult year to be a retailer. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. I also don't want to make it doom and gloom, because I don't actually believe that, because I do see different ends where I see some people who are like, people aren't buying anymore. Everybody's broke. Like, the world is just burning and the sky is falling. And then others that are like, what do you mean everything's amazing? And I don't really buy into either. But here's what I did see. I did see more retailers than in years past struggling. And I saw a lot of retailers growing and thriving. Yet when I talked to those retailers, they would say that it came in a lot more, like, it was more challenging than years before. So that said, let's talk through what some of the contributing things are that I do think impacted that. Because I'm a huge fan of, you have to accept responsibility for what happens in your business. If it's growing, if it's not growing, we can accept responsibility and say, hey, it's on me. But what we can also do is say, but what outside circumstances impacted that? It doesn't mean that it is responsible for it, because as soon as we say that it's responsible, we also give we give the solution to the outside thing. So like in your marriage, if your spouse is the reason that your marriage isn't good, well, it can't improve until they improve. But if you can take responsibility for your part, well, then your marriage can improve as you improve, and you can hope that they do also. So if the economy is the reason your business isn't doing well, and it's the only reason, then our business is going to fail until the economy gets better. So instead, what I would rather do is take responsibility for it, so that way I have control. I want control over the future of my business. I never want to give control to the outside thing. But it is good to be aware of what those outside things are. So as we take control, we can mitigate things around it. So there's a few things that I saw this year that were massive shifts in the retail space. Number one, and probably the biggest one, is changes in social media. In years past, there's always been algorithm shifts. The algorithm changes constantly, and that's a normal thing. This year specifically, we saw some massive shifts that made it really hard in retail. Number one being story reach tanked. So a lot of the brands that we work with that were really, really good at social media, one of the things they were best at was stories. And they had really good engaging stories. They were able to tag their products, do the swipe up, depending on what era we're talking about, and get traffic to their site via those stories. And what we saw was that reach tanked. And so if we were leaning on that for our sales, what happened was we saw a massive decline in sales. Instagram, TikTok, these apps one of the biggest shifts is they got really, really good at keeping people in their app. If you think about what makes them money, it is their advertising. It is people being in the app a really long time. And so they work really hard to make sure that once you get into Instagram, when you open that app, they want you on it for as long as possible. And so when your activity leads them getting off of it, what are they going to do? They're going to suppress your content. And so they got freakishly good at that. And then let's be real, 2024 election year just has an impact. Uncertainty it shifts their attention, like they're being bombarded with stuff. Generally speaking, that did have an impact in the year. In the holidays, having a shorter period of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas than we normally have, that has an impact. I'm recording this before Black Friday, Cyber Monday. It's actually the week before. And so I don't know what the results can be. I know that right now it's predicted to be the most successful Black Friday, Cyber Monday ever, based on trends from the year. So I'm excited about that. And I hope that when I record an update, I can report that that is indeed true and talk through some of our client wins in it. And then to be frank, we saw more stores closing their doors. So knowing this, what do we do? Like, what's the next step? Because when I see posts that are like, we're all struggling, everybody's struggling, my thought to that is, well, then why try? Why even try? If everybody is struggling and everybody is failing, why try? That means, because if it's everybody, that means that there's no solution. But the good news is I know that's not true. There are businesses that are thriving right now. And we can do one of two things. We could either discount their success and say, well, they have this and they blah, 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 whatever the reasons are, they're successful that don't apply to you. Or we can say, gosh, how amazing. If they can do it, so can I. And that's what I want to encourage you in, is to look at the fact that there are businesses that are thriving right now. And then we don't have to, yes, like we can be bummed about our current state. And I'm going to get to that in a second, but we can look at it and say, but look what's possible. It absolutely is possible for me to reach my goals despite all those outside circumstances. So the number one encouragement, if you're feeling this, customers are still buying. People are still buying right now. But there is some shifts that we want to take into account as we look at where we're headed from here. So number one, the race to the bottom fails. The race to the bottom fails. If your competitive advantage, if the thing that makes you stand out and unique is that you are the cheapest, you are the most affordable, you are whatever it is related to price, where the market is moving, that is probably the weakest competitive advantage to have right now. Temu, Shein, Amazon, that is their competitive advantage, and we will not beat theirs. So instead, we have to look at what's a competitive advantage that we can take on that isn't theirs, because we can't win at their game. Honestly, they're too big. They're Amazon. This is like awful, but one of the things that they would say is when they would go into a new venture, they would lose money on it, and they would say, like, "Look, we will go underwater, and we will pull you underwater with us," knowing, like, with their prices, and because their mindset was like, "Look, we can hold our breath way longer than you can," and so they will force people out of business in order to saturate the market. We're not going to win at that game. But there are games that we can win at that they could never do. Our curation. The big thing is the question of, and if you answer this question well, you have a path forward. Why would I shop with you? And not necessarily me. Why would your perfect customer shop with you? What is it about your experience? What is it about your curation? What is it about the thing you do deeper than what you sell? The impact that you make? What is that thing that you do? And then how does that translate in our store experience? How does that translate in our online experience, in our social media experience? When we can answer that question incredibly well, we are positioned for success. So that's my question to you. Beyond, yes, the products you sell are a part of it, but what do you do for your customer? If it's only provide affordable blank, I'm going to encourage you to rethink, what is it you really do for your customer that Temu and Shein and Amazon and those competitors can never do? So think through that bit. What is it that you do that's so unique that no one else can duplicate it? It's your unique thing. And if you've ever asked the question, like, look, we're all selling the same dresses. Why would someone buy it from me? That's the reason why they'll buy it from you is the added value of the thing you're really doing for your customer and the way you frame it. So that's what has you on the right path. The next thing, find the balance between fear brain and toxic positivity. Here's what I mean by that. Fear brain is when our business is struggling and we tend to get really nervous. And I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but if I tell you, don't think about a blue truck and you're driving around, you're going to notice every single blue truck around you, even though I said don't. Our brain notices whatever we're thinking about. So when we are thinking about the reasons why things aren't good right now, we are going to start seeing the reasons why everything is good. Yet there are other people that could point out all the good going on in the world right now because that's what they're focused on. When we're in fear brain, we have a really hard time seeing the good, seeing the opportunity. And we tend to have like the sky is falling, there's not a path forward. That's fear brain. That's limited mindset. That is I'm blanking on the scarcity mindset, that it's like zero sum. And if they succeed, I'm going to fail. That's what that mindset is. But on the other end is toxic positivity. Toxic positivity would say, all those outside circumstances I talked about earlier, it's fine, no big deal. We can succeed. Everything's good. Everything's great. But that doesn't have to be true either. And it's not even that I want you in the middle, but I want you to find that the way to move forward in a healthy way in your business is to look at those things and say, look, those outside circumstances, those challenges are real. They are real. They need to be addressed. They do have an impact on my business. We can take control while acknowledging those things have an impact on my business. But it's the most important but in all of business. Those things have an impact, but I'm going to move forward anyway. I'm going to find what will work. If stories aren't getting the reach they were, we could either complain and be like, oh, that's Instagram's destroying my business, or we can say, but what will get in front of them? And I would rather take the path of, yes, those things are real. Yes, those challenges. Yes, the economy. Yes, the election. Yes, everything that has gone on impacts. But what next? I think that's the balance between just saying everything's fine or saying the sky is falling is, yes, that's real, but what next? And so here's the cool thing. I genuinely believe that right now is one of the best times to be in retail. And here's why. When we look back at difficult periods of time, this could be recessions, all the way back to the Great Depression. The biggest, the best companies in the world were built during those times. As we go through these difficult periods, yes, people will close their doors. We will see that. I think we'll see more of that in the next year. But the good news is that those that can figure it out, one will grow, because as those businesses close their doors, these customers will begin looking to other places. And so we will start to see a reshuffling of customers in the places that they're shopping. And they may have shopped with 5, but now they're only shopping with 3, but they're shopping more with those 3 stores. And so they now have an opportunity to capture that. And we will see the market saturation that existed where, there was if there was 1,000 before and there's 700 now, it's going to be the talented 700. And so the good news for you is if you're the type of person listening to this, if you're the type of person that is investing in yourself with education and resources, I believe that you're that type of person, that you're going to be able to find the things in your business that need to change, that need to shift. And I think that you're going to be able to do that. And so my encouragement leaving this episode where I look back and I talked about, okay, these are some of my lessons learned. Take this as the opportunity to say, okay, we got it. Like I have this. I know I can take all of these circumstances and I can figure out a path forward. And so my hope for you this season is that the interviews can be encouraging, and hearing other stories and knowing that you're not alone in your journey. I hope that the solo episodes where I'm digging into strategies and tactics around how to grow online equip you with resources that will really move the needle in you growing your online sales. So I'm so excited for this season. I cannot wait for what's ahead. Big favor. If you haven't before, if you could leave a review on whatever podcast app you are listening on, or if you're on YouTube, click the subscribe button. But if you could leave a review, it helps us find more retailers to encourage them in the things that they're doing. And that would just mean the world to me. That's the biggest thank you could ever give, is leaving a review. So thanks for tuning in. I cannot wait to see you next time.